I started reflecting a lot on how can we in the arts be asking for attention, investment, funding when 42 million people will be affected by the lack of food subsidies.
Hmm.
And we all need food, and that sustains us. But
Yeah.
art is food to our humanity and soul, and we need that too. Walking through how do we talk about art's impact and why we can be in the same category as food insecurities or housing insecurities, and how can you, as a leader or an advocate or an arts council, talk about the why in a way that's not tone deaf, right? It's acknowledging that we are hurting in all aspects of society, and therefore we too need to be taken care of or looking at, or if we go away, what does that do to that's a starvation in its own of that sense of belonging and community and empathy and all of that. So that's been on my mind a ton this last few weeks.
Yeah, that's a
How do
heavy
Yeah.
topic. And I agree with you. I'd like I don't know what the answer is. So I have like what is your thoughts on it? But like
Yeah,
how do
I
you
went and I
balance that?
Yeah, and I really looked at it in again, I wrote out this in a newsletter. Oftentimes I can be more articulate and thoughtful when I put it on paper and can walk it through. And it's really nothing different than what I say all the time is why do you do what you do? But really, if why we do is about humans and humanity and community and resilience and all of those things, again, it's not discounting or not acknowledging these looming significant shifts in our society that are happening, but how we also play a part in that. And
Hmm.
so I think first and foremost, it's just acknowledging that, yes, there are so many areas where we are struggling.
Hmm.
And then how can we fit into that landscape? And it goes back to leading with your why, not what do you do. It's not support the arts because we uplift. It's not, it's
Right.
not, the arts make people feel good. We have to find that language that is more articulate and more, it's not a lofty or these, we want it, we open hearts and open minds, and it's this lovely, lofty language. It's the direct one-on-one, give one example of
Hmm.
how you are changing lives, how you also are supporting life. And I think from a marketer, not to put words in your mouth, those are the kinds of stories that you are looking to tell. So, so
Yeah.
the data to show the skills, the awareness, everyone wants to be seen. Everybody wants to feel valued. And we have data that shows that by participating in arts, children in particular, feel safe and seen and valued. And when those things are in place, along with nourishment,
Hmm.
we're we're in a better position to thrive.
So I have a question for you, and this is a
Sure.
challenging question, and you don't have to
Okay.
answer it.
You're
But
pitching.
do you think part of where we are today is because of how we've looked at arts in the past? And because I view art as like a way to connect with other humans. It builds empathy, like you get to see different perspectives in life by, just consuming all of these different creative arts and cultures and all of that stuff. And I go back to like arts funding that has been cut in schools,
Yeah.
and was cut in schools quite a while ago now. If if that is, as a person that was never good in school, but art was where I gained my confidence, where I made my friends, where I built those connections. Um, and I even say sometimes the theater is like my church. Like that is where I learn and consume and grow as a human being. Are we partially here today because we haven't been building I don't know. It's like, am I projecting my own thoughts onto something else? But
I
it
don't
feels
think so.
a
Yeah,
cyclical.
yes, I don't think so. I don't think it's a coincidence that we see corporate leaders say that we need more creativity, collaboration, innovation in the workforce. I think that over the last 25, 30 years, as we've pushed for STEM, we've pushed for automation,
Hmm.
we've pushed for transactional. What's how can we be more efficient? What's your ROI? Everything's transactional. Now it's automation. I wrote about this recently that there was a surge in art school applications this last year, this like coming into this fall,
Hmm.
than before. Schools are on wait lists or there's 16% increase in enrollment. And it's not people who want to be an artist. These
Mhm.
are individuals who want to connect to humanity or authenticity. They recognize the automated, sterile lack of creativity. And so they want to be stimulated that way.
Mhm.
And so I don't think that you're off base. I do think that there's correlation. I know that there are studies that talk about the demise of funding for arts in schools. I want to link that to the absentee epidemic that we're facing in schools, or the that we're behind a year or two in math scores in schools. There are all those correlations. And you said something that I kind of want to dispel a little bit is, you might not have performed grade wise well in the traditional education, but it doesn't, that don't discount the artistic part of your brain that's working. We need both. And
Mhm.
so I was speaking to a bunch of undergrads, and they were not artists, not art majors, but we were talking about the importance of creativity and art in innovation.
Mhm.
And somebody mentioned that in her high school, they had a theater, but you could not participate in theater unless your STEM class grades were at a certain level. And I just smiled, but inside was just so frustrated, because if we only knew that actually performing the nature of performance, improv, those types of functions of theater improve your ability in STEM fields. But we've not focused on that. And I get frustrated by the stack of books that I have that talk about your brain on art, or all of these things about the neuroscience of music and on, and yet that hasn't resonated. And so that's really why I set out to do what I do, is just how do we get those in the sector to better articulate the impact. So it kind of goes back to full circle. We shy away, I do too, from seeing this looming crisis of food subsidies and
Mhm.
the worry of how many people are going to go without.
Mhm.
We fall in that. The creatives fall in that. We have creativity, that ability to have that in our lives is so vital,
Mhm.
and improves outcomes of, if we're combating loneliness, that goes to addiction, and that speaks of loneliness, and that's mental well-being, and that's all of those things.
Mhm.
And I wish that we could just have a greater flow of that kind of communication within our sector to reframe our impact in ways that are more articulate and in line with all other sectors that are struggling.
Mhm. Like to me, as you're saying that, I say all the time to our clients, like big picture thinking, big picture thinking. You need to pull up. You need to think not in silo. And like our community is not a silo either. And like looking at your impact from the large view instead of just the normal, how many people were in your audience, how many
Right.
children did you, how much money did you make?
But
I don't
think
know
of
how
it,
to have that conversation
yeah,
on scale
right, exactly.
with
But I get
the
excited.
community. Yeah.
Right. I
Like
get
what?
excited when we talk about silos, because if you think about communities, really, not to contradict you, but they do function in silos. When we think of STEM, it's science,
Okay.
technology, engineering, and math. Everybody's in their sector, in their lane. The only thing that is a cross section of those sectors is creativity, is the artistic mind, is that, and I offend some people because I don't always use the word arts or artists, and I get why that offends, because when the 97% of the people that aren't in the sector or don't truly understand the gift and the uniqueness of the arts and artists, they shut down, and they think, oh, okay, great. You're talking
Mhm.
about the arts. how lovely, we're
Yeah.
going to have a food crisis coming on our hands. But when we talk about that function of creativity and what that brings to every sector, then we need to show that we
Mhm.
should be injected into every aspect. And that's the only thing that I can think of, only industry that is a cross sector of all of those other silos,
You cut out on the very last word. Cross sector.
of all of the other silos, siloed industries. So we talk about community, but there's healthcare and there's development and
Mhm.
there's retail and then there's agriculture and but there's one sector that transcends, that touches on all of that, and that's
Mhm.
the arts and the creative sector.
Mhm. I actually really love that. Yeah.